Hey Cardinals, welcome to Cardinal Catch, the new Sentinel sports podcast. I'm Anna with my co-hosts Luke and Bryce, and today we're joined by NIC's own athletic director, Al Williams.
Al, to start off, we'd like to ask, what's your background? How did you become the athletic director at North Idaho College?
Well, my background started 40 years ago. I'm actually an alumni of North Idaho College. I played basketball here in 1978 for 1 year, and after that I played at the University of Idaho. So I've had roots here for the last 40 years. I went to corporate world after I graduated from the University of Idaho, and then when the job opened up at North Idaho College to be the AD, I jumped at the chance. I was at the University of Denver before then, and this job doesn't open up very often, so when they called me about being the AD here, I said, if you don't jump on this now, it'll never happen. So there were 65 applicants for the job in 2003, and so fast forward 15 years now, I've been here and had a pretty good run.
Awesome. So indulging in on that background, what was the biggest pull to come back to NIC? Was it just that you had your roots here at first, or was it something bigger?
Well, just knowing the whole Coeur d'Alene community and the campus and knowing the history of North Idaho College and the athletic department, it was a natural draw. I always thought I'd come back here to retire after my career in corporate world, but coming back at an early age gave me even more motivation to want to come back, and seeing the caliber of athletes they had on the campus and the programs they were involved with, and the opportunity to come back to this region, it was just kind of a natural fit for me. So I'm just fortunate to be selected.
You mentioned your time at the University of Denver. You were a coach there. So talk about your relationship with the coaches now and how that time at the University of Denver helped you to kind of understand their position.
Well, it kind of helps you empathize with what they go through the whole recruiting process. At Denver, I was coaching men's basketball as the assistant coach there. And just putting yourself in the coach's position, you understand that their whole purpose here is to recruit successful athletes and then put them in a position to go into four-year schools, and hopefully they can advance their career academically and athletically. And so seeing what they have to go through, I know it's more than just the on the court or on the mat situation that they deal with. And so I can understand that the best thing a manager can do is select good coaches, get out of their way, let them do their job, and then provide incentive and motivation and some experience to them when they bring that to you, as opposed to you going out there and try to manage their teams. Obviously, they're all better at their respective sports and coaching than I would be, because I know nothing about coaching wrestling or women's soccer or those programs, but you can at least say, as a coach, I understand what you're going through, and if you can have the right motivation in mind when you recruit the student athletes, it's helpful to them knowing that I have their back when they're trying to bring a student athlete in. And occasionally I do help them recruit if they have an athlete who's not familiar with the region, or a parent who's uncomfortable to come into Idaho, or just not knowing what the region is about. They sometimes will ask me what's my perspective, and I can kind of put the athlete at ease, the parents at ease, and kind of be the final sales pitch where we're not sure just what to expect for the athletes coming to the program.
So NIC made the switch into the NWAC, excluding the wrestling team. Talk to us kind of about that switch and why the wrestling team was not included in that.
Well, the switch was from the National Junior College Athletic Association, which you probably know was a membership of over 500 community colleges across the nation, and North Idaho College is in the biggest region, which was Region 18, which included schools from Idaho, Utah, Colorado, Nevada. So it was a pretty broad base of schools we had to go from and to, and our biggest concern here was our travel costs. And because of our success, we were going to the national tournaments on an annual basis, and because of that, it requires travel to go across the country for national tournaments, for example, in Florida for women's golf, and men's golf into Texas, and basketball going back to Kansas. And so we're going all over the country, and so it became to be a little more expensive. And as we know, travel costs continue to go up. Our budget became stagnant. So I was faced with the decision to either cut sports to allow us to compete nationally in some programs, or to go to the regional tournament, the regional conference, which is the Northwest Athletic Conference. And that's primarily a 38-member conference, which includes colleges in Washington, Oregon, one in Vancouver, and then we'd be the only outlier from those three areas. And so to have an option to compete locally and not have to cut any sports, that was the biggest motivation for us to change conferences. The reason why wrestling wasn't included in that formula is that the NWAC, which is the Northwest Athletic Conference, didn't have wrestling as one of their intercollegiate sports. So there are now 5 sports of wrestling in the conference, but they're all considered members of the NJCAA. So the only way that we could still be aligned and maintain wrestling was to keep us in the National Junior College Athletic Association, and that's what other members in the NWAC do as well too. So they're the only program that we have now that competes for a national championship, whereas in the NWAC, as high as you can get will be the region championship. So that's the major difference, is that we can't compete for a national championship, and which is somewhat disappointing because we've always had that goal, we've always been nationally ranked, and to not have that option at the end of the year to compete for a national championship, that's a little bit disappointing, but we still have the regional conference is very competitive. We still attract very good athletes to come to our program, and because of that, the switch hasn't been that big of a disappointment to our student athletes because it's a very competitive conference.
So, expanding on that a little bit, is there any scenario where we might make the switch back into the NJCAA, where, or maybe there's people that are trying to work on getting us back into that without having to cut teams from the program?
Well, it's difficult to say. I've learned in my career, you never say never. It'll be a long shot because when you make that switch, the Region 18 teams, which is our old league, they more or less realigned their conference affiliation, and they grew more sports that really benefited by not having to travel all the way to Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. So it made it be more affordable for them to add sports. So in the old league, they added soccer, and so for us to now get back into that league, it will become more expensive for us to have travel costs going to different areas, and now I've created those different programs. So looking ahead to the future, the benefit of being in the NWAC is that you can possibly expand on sports. So that's one of the advantages of being in a regional conference. So the NJCAA, we probably have a better chance of hopefully encouraging the schools in the NWAC to have a national affiliation competing for national competition and national championships in their respective programs, as opposed to us going back to the NJCAA. So in essence, schools in Washington and Oregon, they are a part of the NJCAA, but only for sports like wrestling and for swimming, because that's not an NWAC sport. So there's still a association with that conference, which is why it's nice to still have us be aligned with the NJCAA for wrestling. We still go to their meetings, we still know what's going on as far as program expansion. But to bring all our programs back over, we don't have that option in the NWAC because you can't pick and choose which sports you want to bring into the NWAC, which ones will stay or go to the NJCAA.
I've been here not that long as a freshman, and I've already ran into several students that I want to ask them if they play any sports. They're like, no, but if we had a baseball team, I would be trying out. Would you mind going over why currently we don't have a baseball team and maybe what the outlook is for the future on that?
Well, baseball had been part of our program since, I recall right, the late 60s. We had an excellent program. Matter of fact, one of our alumni is Jason Bay, who was the Major League Baseball Rookie of the Year when he was with the Pittsburgh Pirates. So our tradition for baseball went back for years. And so in 2001, they decided to make the switch to stay in the NJCAA because they were deciding that back then. And so because of financial reasons and partly because they needed the land where the Health and Medical Science building is right now, they needed that land because that's where our baseball field used to be. They made the determination that we have to cut some programs, and one of the ones they cut back then was baseball. Along with that, they cut women and men's cross country and track. So that was 2001, and so there was talk when that happened that when the opportunity came about, we were looking to bringing baseball back. And because we were in the NJCAA with teams again down in Vegas and Reno and Salt Lake and Colorado, it was going to be too expensive to bring back baseball. But now with the realignment to the NWAC, the possibility and the discussions have come up again. So we've talked about looking into bringing back baseball, and again with the Title IX considerations, we have to consider bringing in a women's sport as well to balance the numbers that would come in with the baseball program. So if that were to happen, we would consider possibly women's cross country and track as an option as well to bring on that. So we've talked about that. We know there's strong community interest in bringing back baseball because we have alumni in the area who play baseball. They're now prominent people in the community that would love to see us bring this back, and so the attention is there. Plus we realize the level of competition in this area for Little League and Pony League baseball is very good. We've had successful high school state champions from the state, from our local high schools, so we could actually have a very competitive team just using all local athletes. So for that reason alone, a lot of our athletes are going over to play rival NWAC schools for baseball. They love to come here and stay here and play right here in our backyard. So we're looking into that, and if we can make that happen, we have to talk about that with our administration and our board of trustees and see how viable of an option that is. But it's been on the table for at least the last 10, 12 years, to be honest.
Awesome.
Al, we know your job can be very stressful, so today we're going to play a game of yay or nay. All right, guys. Pineapple on pizza, yay or nay?
Yeah.
I go yay.
Yay.
Clean sweep.
Nothing wrong with a little pineapple, a little sweetness there. goes
Tasty
along
fruit,
with it.
man.
Absolutely.
All right, snowboarding, yay or nay?
Definitely.
Nay.
Definitely a nay for me.
Oh.
Hey.
It's
Why
too much.
nay?
It's.
Is it like
I'm clumsy.
opposed
I'm
to
clumsy.
skiing or snowboarding in general?
I just anything outside in the winter. I'm
Well, that's
clumsy.
alright, mountain.
I'm clumsy.
Life is adventurous enough. I don't need that much. I pass on snowboarding.
All right, singing in the car while you're alone.
I say
yeah.
yay.
I think that's the best time to do it. You can have your own
Yeah.
concert.
No, I do it with myself.
I applaud
with other
myself.
people in the car, it doesn't matter.
I think it
All
depends
the
on the
time.
song too, though. Like if it's emotional, I got it wholeheartedly.
Okay. I'm
No
in on
doubt
that.
about it. All right, country music.
Yeah.
That's a
Yay.
big time day.
Oh,
Yeah.
Got 2 haters.
wow, no.
Oh, yeah. No. Can't do that one.
Don't like a little twang.
Too much twang.
Yeah.
All right, mustard on your fries.
Absolutely not.
That is
That is
disgusting.
no. Not
That is the
at all.
grossest
That's
thing.
debatable. I can do it though.
Ugh, that is gross.
No. If I did, I wouldn't tell anybody I did.
Yeah, I wouldn't brag
money,
about it.
Money was involved.
All right, do you put ketchup on the side of your fries, or like drape it over them,
Oh, absolutely over.
or like
Side.
I see on the side.
Side.
Gotta be a
Side.
neat person.
I say side.
On the side.
No,
Side.
I put it right on there. Get as much ketchup on each fry as possible.
Oh, that is disgusting. That's weird.
It
That's
gets,
all.
gets all over your
That's
clothes.
nasty.
Yes.
Mustard,
Yeah,
man.
that's messy.
That is messy.
I say on the side. I'm going yay for on the side there.
On the side.
Nay. The nays have it.
Aww. All right, Al, thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah. And before we finish, I'd like you guys to go check out our Twitter account and give us a follow so you can be linked to the future podcasts that are going to be coming up. And also something of note, October 4th, homecoming, Wednesday, October 4th, and it's going to be 3:30 at the soccer field. So if you guys could show up, there's going to be hot dogs there, and it'll be a really good time. So we hope that all of you guys can show up and join us there.
And it's a homecoming between us and rival Spokane. We're playing them in women's soccer starting at 2 o'clock. Men's soccer starting at 4:15, and then we play them in volleyball at 6 o'clock. So come out and enjoy all of those. And if you come, you get an NIC t-shirt. So please come out. The first 200 fans will come out there, but we're going to make sure we have enough for everybody. So free food, free chips, free drinks, free t-shirts, and good old-fashioned NIC athletics with our rival Spokane Sasquatch.
All right, Al, thank you so much for joining us, and be sure to tune in next time for Cardinal Catch.